gods before me. Then there is this big commandment that you shall not bow down to idols. And then you may not take the name of the Lord your vain. The Sabbath commandment is very prominent. And then you have the commandments dictating the relationship between man and man. Honor your father and your mother, shalt not kill, adultery, theft, thou shalt not bring false witness, and covetousness. Those are the commandments as they are in the Bible. If you take the Catholic Catechism, you'll see that the second commandment has been removed. You shall not have other gods. You shall be able to change laws, of course, he says. I am the Lord of God. You shall have no strange gods before me. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. So the second commandment is gone. This one has moved one up. Remember to keep holy the Sabbath day. But what have they done to that? We'll see about that in a moment. And so they only have 9 commandments, and to get 10, they take the commandment on coveting and split it into 2. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. Very fascinating. Remember that this one over here says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. So they turn it round. Isn't that fascinating? They even have the gall to turn it round, as if they had the right to do that. The Catholic Encyclopedia says, the Church, after changing the day of rest from the Jewish Sabbath, or the 7th day of the week, to the 1st, made the 3rd commandment refer to Sunday, because the second one was gone now, as the day to be kept holy as the Lord's Day, Catholic Encyclopedia. So they changed the times. Even the day of worship, which was the 7th day, was shifted to the 1st day of the week. Matthew 5:17 says, think not that I came to destroy the law and the prophets. I came not to destroy, but to fulfill, to live them out. Here's the Convert's Catechism of the Catholic Doctrine, page 50, and it says, question, which is the Sabbath day? Answer, Saturday is the Sabbath day. Catholic Church is well aware of it, they know it. Question, why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer, we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea transferred the solemnity from the Saturday to the Sunday. So did she change times and laws? Yes or no? Yes, she did. Times, and half a time. What does that refer to? The saints will be handed over to him for a time, times, and half a time. If you have a modern Bible, it'll say 3.5 years. Now, prophetic years are different to normal years. A year, in a prophetic sense, had 360 days because the Hebrew year had 360 days. So, 360, 2 times, 720, half a time, half a year, 180. Add them all up, that would give you 1,260 prophetic days. Now, that becomes 1,260 literal years. Let's just sort this out. With the conquest of Rome by Belisarius commences the history of the Middle Ages. So when Rome was conquered and the Ostrogoths were removed, the history of the Middle Ages started. Philip Shape says, Vigilus ascended the papal chair 538 AD under the military protection of Belisarius. So when did the little horn power assume its authority? The answer is 538 AD, because the last of the little horns, or of the horn powers that kept him back were the Ostrogoths. They were removed in 538 AD, and Vigilus ascends the papal chair. So the dominance of Rome begins. Another shall arise after them, the 10 kingdoms, established AD 476. After them, AD 538, papal rule commences. According to a decree which was issued by Justinian, Emperor of Rome, who said that the Pope will be the corrector of heretics and the ruler of all the churches. Now 538, if you add 1,260, you come to 1,798, 1798. What happened in 1798? Berthier entered Rome on the 10th of February 1798 and proclaimed a republic. Half of Europe thought Napoleon's veto would be obeyed and that with the Pope the papacy was dead. So exactly according to prophetic time, and the Bible tells us to take a day for a year, exactly according to that time, when the clock struck 1798, the temporal power of the papacy was halted for a while. So 1,260-year time prophecy. 476 AD, the 10 kingdoms are established. 538 AD, the bishop officially recognized as the ruler of all the churches. 1,260 years of time prophecy brings us to 1798 fulfilled. His domain and dominion ended. 1,260 years, it was based on 1,260 days, which is the same as 3.5 prophetic years, but it's also the same as 42 months. 42 times 30, that was the biblical month. 42 times 30 is also 1,260. Now in Revelation 12, verse 6, we read, 1,203 score days. That's 1,260 days. In Revelation 12:14, a time, times, and half a time. See how Revelation picks up the theme of this power and brings it into the heart of Revelation? Here they all are. Daniel 7:25, time, times, and the dividing of time, referring to this power. Daniel 12:7, time, times, and a half. Revelation 11:2, 42 months. Revelation 11:3, 1,260 days. Revelation 12:6, 1,260 days. Revelation 12:14, time, times, and half a time. Revelation 13:5, 40 and 2 months. All of these referring to the same power. Notice how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Bible is fantastic. What's it telling us? That this power would set itself up as another God. Because 7 is the number of God. And it would assume all these characteristics. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Rome receives a wound in the form of the little horn power, but it's going to be healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. Revelation 13:3. So the same power that ruled over the saints for 1,260 days receives a mortal wound, 1798, will rise again, and the whole world will be subject to it. That's what the Bible says. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Does that include the United States? Does that include my country? Yes, it does. Ronald Reagan and the papacy made a holy alliance. That's a fascinating story. We'll have to go into that into a little bit more detail. And so, even the mighty United States subjected itself to this power. Here we have a signal picture between Gorbachev and the papacy. This is the mighty Soviet Union at that stage, greeting and acknowledging this power. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in a common cause. Only the United States has both the moral standing and the means to back it up. At the Second Vatican Council, this was in 1962, document, it states, "It is our duty, therefore, to strain every muscle in working for the time when all war will be completely outlawed by international consent." This is the Second Vatican Council. This goal undoubtedly requires the establishment of a universal public authority acknowledged as such by all and endowed with the power to safeguard on behalf of all security, regard for justice, and respect for rights. Pope Paul VI wrote in the section entitled "Towards Effective World Authority," he wrote, "This international collaboration on a worldwide scale requires institutions that will prepare, coordinate, direct it until finally there is established an order of justice